first, the spread of coronavirus has put countless lives all across this world at risk. But the economic crisis and the market freefall that came with it has put countless livelihoods at risk, too. And right now, I want to talk to 5 people on the front lines of that crisis. Joining me now is Joel Berg, CEO of Hunger Free America and author of America, We Need to Talk. Melba Wilson, founder of Melba's Restaurant in Harlem, New York, and author of Melba's American Comfort. Sarah Nelson, president of the Association of Flight Attendants. Andrew Zimmern, host of What's Eating America, right here on MSNBC. And Tom Colicchio, chef and owner of Crafted Hospitality. And thank you all for joining me. Joel, I'm going to go to you first. The estimate from Goldman Sachs is that there could be 2 million people filing for unemployment in the next week or so. 2 weeks ago, that number was 200,000. That means a lot of people are going to be unemployed. We now also worry that a lot of people are going to be hungry. What is Hunger Free America doing in that regard?
We're making sure that there's a combined federal, state, and local response along with the charities. The country needs to understand that groups like ours can't do it alone, even with generous private donations. Before this crisis, 37 million Americans and 11 million American children lived in homes that couldn't afford enough food. So worser isn't a word, but this crisis has made things go from worse to worser. Like with Sandy, like with Katrina, this disaster has pulled the bandage off the wounds that is the festering hunger and inequality in America, and has forced the country to see these pre-existing conditions have gotten far, far, far worse overnight. People shouldn't have to choose between a deadly disease and working.
Yeah. And, you know, Melba, you and I know each other. We've been friends for a long time. And you said something to me in a text when we were texting back and forth, which was so profound for me that I really just needed to have you on the show, which is that, you know, you're in the business of feeding people, but the people who work for you have to eat, too. And tell me what businesses like yours are facing regarding people who you've talked about. These are like family members. These are people who work for you that you can't necessarily just keep paying them out of money you don't have. Tell me what you're facing and what businesses like yours are facing.
Joy, this is a very, very difficult time for myself as well as other restaurateurs. I'm also the president of the New York City Hospitality Alliance, and we employ over 250,000 people here in New York City. You know, when I look at our employees and know that they cannot afford to feed their children, you know, they cannot afford the mere necessities, it breaks my heart. So this is a time where we really need the government to step in and not just provide a $1,200 check. These people need to be able to feed their families, and they need the bare essentials. So at a time when the people that take care of people in this country, the fact that there's nobody here to take care of them is heart-wrenching.
Yeah. And as a small business person, you're looking forward to taking out loans because that's what the Republicans are saying you should do.
I'm not looking forward to taking out loans. I think that the federal government should step up and provide grants. We need the rents to be frozen right now. We need to make sure that there's a cash infusion so that we can take care of small businesses, which are the backbone of this country, as well as our employees.
Yeah. And Sarah, people don't tend to think of airlines as being a food business, but it is, in a sense, a food business. You know, you've got the people who provide the food that are served on the planes. There's also the health, safety, and security of flight attendants, people like yourself. Tell me what you guys are facing in terms of, you know, the airline shutdown and the possibility that the companies you work for could get a giant bailout. What's being done for you?
So flight attendants are on the front lines right now, still going to work. Let's be really clear. While other people are sheltering in their homes, flight attendants are still going to work, just like we do in another natural disaster. You know, I work the relief flight to Puerto Rico, and oftentimes the airlines and the frontline people in those airlines are the first ones to step up and get help to other people. Right now, flight attendants are going to work, and the restaurants, like I said, are shut down. At our hotels, around our hotels, when we get back to our communities, they're not able to find food in the grocery stores, non-perishable items they can take on their trips. So all of this is connected. And also, we know that we need to be strong so that we can actually help the other people who depend on us, our restaurants and our hospitality workers and those cab drivers and van drivers and our teachers. All of these people count on us to be strong. And that's why we are promoting a direct assistance grants directly to our airlines, but specifically to pay the paychecks of workers. This is not going to be a bailout for corporations where they can spend the money anywhere they want. This needs to be directed to keeping the paychecks going, keeping people on the job, connected to their benefits so that we can stay strong and help other people. We need to keep as many systems in place, keep as many people strong as possible so that we can help those who are sick and the most vulnerable.
Sarah, does the flight attendants union, do flight attendants and pilots have access to get tested for coronavirus?
It has been a problem with getting tests. Those people who have gotten sick or who have been exposed, who have been waiting for tests, sometimes 5-6 days. We had a flight attendant who was very ill in the hospital with symptoms that sounded like coronavirus. She had to wait because they were only doing 42 tests a day in that hospital. She ended up testing negative, thank goodness. But this is what we're seeing out there, and that is a huge problem. Those who are still healthy and haven't been exposed are having to go to work too.
Tom Colicchio, you're also, a chef. You also own, restaurants. I mean, the thing is that when people think about this bailout, the discrepancy between what these senators are talking about doing for giant airline companies or for McDonald's or for big corporations and what they're talking about doing for smaller businesses who have employees who really depend on that check every month. These waiters and waitresses, bartenders, they're not rich. They $1,200 one time isn't going to do anything for them. What is $1,200 going to do for your employees? And what would forcing businesses like yours to take out loans, whereas McDonald's gets grants, tax money, free money? Your thoughts?
Right. So Joy, I represent a group called the Independent Restaurant Coalition, and we have a plan. And this plan can take care of 15 million people. And I think you have to include every single restaurant. So if you look at every restaurant in America last year, revenues were $880 billion. A lot of that money goes out to our employees, our suppliers, our landlords. And so if money is funneled through the restaurant industry, if you take that number and cut it in half, and make it $440 billion, put it directly into the restaurants where we have to keep our employees, we'll pay them, keeping them from going to unemployment. So right now, about 7 million workers are filing for unemployment in the restaurant industry. They won't have to have unemployment. They can get their pays. We can also pay our suppliers so they can pay their suppliers. We can also pay our landlords so they don't have to go to their credit facilities and negotiate deals with them. So because we are so many, if you funnel funds through independent restaurants, actually restaurants across the country, we can reach 15 million people plus suppliers plus landlords in total. I think that's the best thing to do.
Yep. No, absolutely. I think everyone that's listening to you agrees with you. And Andrew Zimmern, by the way, first of all, I love your show, What's Eating America. People should be watching it. It's really informative. It's really smart. So let's take this to the even more basic level. Because before the food gets into Tom's restaurant or Melba's restaurant, before the food can be distributed by Joel's organization to people who are hungry or distributed on airlines where Sarah is working, the food has to get picked. The food has to get cultivated. What needs to be done in terms of protecting the people who originate our food, the people who are picking our food? It sounds like deportation is in order, or trying to lock them out or get rid of them, rather than protect the people who are on the front lines of feeding us.
Well, we have a very difficult problem here in this country. And like Tom, I'm also involved with the Independent Restaurant Coalition. And we have a multi-tiered problem here in this country. And one of the communities that has been marginalized and kept in the shadows for decades are the people who work in our processing plants.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. I'm so sorry, Andrew. They've certainly not done that. Andrew, I'm sorry that I cut you off earlier to go to Andrew, to go to Governor Cuomo. 45,000 tests have been conducted in New York. That's more than California or Washington State. They've ramped up very quickly. They have over 200 labs providing testing. The governor talked about the magnitude of the number of people who are testing positive, but said that that's because we're testing, and that you have to be testing in order to know, and you have to know in order to treat it. I thought it was a very, very impressive presentation, but I want to get your thoughts, sir.
I did as well, and I've been saying for a number of days now and for at least a week on social since Monday when I appeared with Governor Walz here in Minnesota at one of his press conferences. Our nation's governors are leading. Our nation's governors are showing real leadership. This is not a red or blue issue. This is not a left or right issue. This is a forward issue, and I agree with General Honore. We have to be dealing with facts on the ground, and we have to have logistical expertise from Defense Department to help our governors get the help they need where it's needed most.
Yeah, absolutely. And Melba, you heard the governor talk about stress and social responsibility, a thorough presentation. That's your governor. You're his constituent. Your reaction.
Joy, you know, it's really interesting. I think that during difficult times, what we look for leadership. We look for someone to take us and to show us the way and to let us know the facts and to give us hope. And when I listened just now to Governor Cuomo, that's what I felt. He was extremely informative. He gave factual information. There was no anger. There was no hostility. And I'm very, very proud to be a New Yorker, as well as an American, but really proud to be a New Yorker. And this is what we look for in our president. And sorry that we're not getting it with President Trump, but Governor Cuomo is doing an amazing job in leading this city.
Yeah, this may be a high time to remind folks I was born in East Flatbush, New York, St. Mary's Hospital that used to be there. I'm proud to be a New Yorker, too, right now. That was well done. But I want to give you the last word on this, Joel Berg. Your thoughts?
My mother grew up in East Flatbush. Look, we have a hunger crisis and an economic crisis. Governor Cuomo's done a great job. What we need to ramp up the impact of the anti-hunger and anti-poverty provisions because we have a festering problem with 1 million school meals not being served in New York City each day. Countless people are unemployed. We need to ramp up not only the health impact fighting that, but the hunger impact immediately.
That's right. We need this kind of leadership to come from Washington. The President of the United States has one job: keep the American people safe and secure. Do your job, sir. Learn from the governor here, fellow New Yorker. He's outdoing you, I think, this morning. I think everyone agrees to that. Joel Berg, Melba Wilson, Andrew Zimmern, Lieutenant General Russell Honore. Thank you all so much for standing with us and sticking with us through that. And Alex Witt is